What is your honest opinion of Bob Lazar?
Well, before I answer that, I should say there's a third alternative, and the third alternative is that he's, and I suppose you could say, a willing or unwilling part of a disinformation campaign or an intelligence operation to plant a particular narrative into the public domain for whatever reason. So
Yes.
so as ever, whenever you're looking at anything that involves the intelligence community, and there is no getting away from the fact that the UFO issue and the intelligence community have been inextricably linked for decades. So anything involving the intelligence community is always going to be, what's the quote, a wilderness of mirrors.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. There's an old joke in the intelligence analyst community, interesting if true. That's kind of your default assessment when you hit something like that. Parts of the story do seem to be true. He does seem to have worked at Area 51 for a while. As for all the rest of it, I don't know. What I will say is that more modern, more recent whistleblowers like David Grush have have come out with claims that would certainly seem to corroborate some of what Bob Lazar says. And the good news with all this is that in the United States Congress right now, there are a number of people on both sides of the political divide, and that's quite refreshing in these divided times, Republicans and Democrats coming together in Congress to investigate David Grush's claims, to investigate what the government does or doesn't know about UFOs more generally. And so if if Bob Lazar's story is true, or whether or not it's true, that might be something that this current congressional investigation, or rather multiple investigations into David Grush's claims, might help us circle back on Bob Lazar's claims and figure out whether any of that's true.
All of the conspiracy and ideas around Area 51, do you think, as a member of the British Military of Defence, heading up a program like you headed, if they were, if Area 51 was being used as a place to try and back engineer alien craft, do you think you would have been privy to any of that information if such thing was going on?
I don't know. I like to think so because I had a very high security clearance and need to know, but I'm also not arrogant enough to suggest that it could never happen because time and time again in my Ministry of Defense career, just when you thought you knew everything about a subject, there was someone in a little basement office somewhere who was read onto a program that you weren't read onto. So never say never. I think I would have known, but I can't guarantee it. So, and of course, it may be, I mentioned this idea that if anyone has figured any of this out, it's probably the United States. And maybe the United States just on this didn't tell the UK because it goes back to the point about not wanting to disclose straight away. And you might think, well, but you'd tell your friends. Well, not if you are worried that your friends are penetrated by foreign intelligence agencies. Generally speaking, in intelligence work, the more people you tell, the more likely it is your secret will get out inadvertently. So yeah, it's nice to tell your friends, but there have been times, of course, when the US looked at the UK and thought, well, they had the Cambridge spy ring. And then there've been times when we've looked at the US and we've said, well, they've they've had you know kind of people in the CIA and in the FBI who turned out to be spying for the Soviets. So the safest thing is not to tell even your friends.